President Trump and the First Lady contracting coronavirus is just the latest turn in an election year that has been full of historic uncertainty. With just 31 days remaining to Decision Day 2020, COVID cases are once again spiking in half the states in the nation. As of this morning, nearly 210,000 people in the United States have died from COVID-19. More than 7.3 million have been infected. Prior to contracting COVID-19, Trump worked tirelessly to downplay the dangers of the virus while casting a large shadow of doubt over the country's electoral system amid the pandemic. First, by flooding the airwaves and our Twitter feed with falsehoods and debunked conspiracies about mail-in ballots. Then by not committing to step down if he loses.
Will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that.
In response to Trump's efforts to sow distrust of the American system of democracy, 12 Democratic governors issued a joint statement this week saying, quote, all valid ballots cast in accordance with state and local laws must be counted, and if Trump loses, he must leave office, period. Joining us now is one of the signatories on that letter, Washington Governor Jay Inslee. His state was one of the first to deal with coronavirus early this year. He's a former 2020 Democratic presidential candidate. Governor Inslee, good to see you again. Thank you for being with us. What is it that what's the message you're trying to get across? On Tuesday, Joe Biden said very clearly, if he loses, he has to leave office. If I don't win the election, I accept that outcome. It's kind of we've not had to deal with this before. So what's the message you're trying to get across?
Well, simple, that it is not mutually exclusive to hope that the President and First Lady recover and hope that we recover this virus that is spreading from the White House. You know, the super spreader event at the White House in the Rose Garden was not the only risk, because in some sense, a larger national risk is the fundamental risk to democracy, because not only did he make that unbelievable statement about the peaceful transition of power, but perhaps more importantly, he is currently trying to strip the right to vote from hundreds of thousands of people from my state and millions of people across the United States. And this is an unbelievably dangerous assault on democracy. We have hundreds of thousands of people whose votes are counted after Election Day that are just as good, just as valid, just as secure as any votes counted before Election Day in my state. And he is trying to take away the right of those people to have their ballots counted. And then he is setting up America for a constitutional crisis of asking Republican legislators, once he's created this anxiety and doubt, even worse, to potentially send Republican slates of legislators that do not follow the vote count and try to get to the House of Representatives. Now, that would be one of the most extreme threats to democracy I can imagine. And we will be able to block it in Washington because we have a Democratic legislator and a decent court. But I'm very concerned that if he is successful in creating the virus of doubt about these ballots, that other Republican legislators will create this constitutional crisis. And the answer to this is to vote to make the margin big enough that the Republicans would be embarrassed to try to not count these votes. But we need to get out and vote.
I have to ask you, Governor, the president, talks about Seattle, the FBI. There's a report in the Washington Post that the Justice Department and the FBI are planning for the possibility of Election Day violence, the stand back and stand by stuff to the Proud Boys, something that you've had to face in Washington in addition to coronavirus. How are you and other governors thinking about that, about what happens if we do not have a result on election night, or these things that you're saying the president might do come to pass?
Well, we're keeping our eye on the ball. We're responding and fighting COVID, which is our goal right now, and we're doing it. We've got almost zero help from the president, who has consistently tried to downplay and ignore this problem. And we're asking people to do what is necessary and has worked for a couple centuries now, which is to vote and count the votes. if we do those two things, democracy is going to survive this 4 years of chaos and anarchy and constant lies. And I believe we will get through this. We just need to vote. But we have to do another thing. We have to raise our voices. And that's one of the reasons I asked 10 other governors to join me in this statement. We need everyone to raise our voices in warning. You know, we need a lot of Paul Revere's out there that voter suppression is coming. Electoral, delegations that don't match the vote might be coming to Congress. And this is not like a dark fear of conspiracy. It's right out in the open. Donald Trump had said, this is what I'm going to do. We must stop him. We are guardians of something very precious here, which is our democratic tradition in this country.
Yeah. Governor, good to see you. I would like to talk about climate stuff. It came up for the first time in 12 years in a presidential debate, but let's maybe do that in the next couple of weeks, because I really want to talk to you about that. You have helped that become a major discussion. Washington Governor Jay Inslee.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.